What if the biggest problem with your law firm's lead generation isn't your ads? And what if it isn't your SEO, your website traffic, or even the number of people filling out your forms? What if the real problem is that your firm is treating lead generation like a marketing activity when it really needs to be treated like a business system? That's what I want to talk about today, because when most law firms say we need more leads, what they usually mean is we need more cases, and those are not the same thing. A lead is someone who fills out a form, calls your office, messages you, books a consultation, downloads something, or somehow raises their hand and says, I may need help. But a case is what happens after your firm responds well, qualifies that person properly, builds enough trust, follow up, schedules a consultation, handles the consultation well, and gets the retainer signed. That might seem obvious to most, but it just feels like it needs to be called out because there tends to be a lot of confusion between the two. So that gap between lead and signed case is where a lot of law firm marketing breaks down. And the frustrating part is that many firms don't even know where the breakdown is happening. They look at the marketing report and they go, well, hey, we got 40 leads this month. Then they look at the business and say, but we only signed 3 cases. So the natural reaction is to blame the ads, blame the SEO, blame the agency or Google or the economy, or blame the quality of the leads. And sometimes, yeah, the lead quality really is an issue, or it can be an issue. Sometimes the campaign is attracting the wrong people. Sometimes the keywords are too broad. Sometimes the ads are creating curiosity but not real intent. And sometimes the landing page is converting people who were never a good fit in the first place. But a lot of the time, the leads were there, the opportunity was there, the system just didn't catch them. That's the shift law firms need to make right now. Lead generation can't just be about getting attention. It has to be about what happens from the first impression all the way to the signed client. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that law firms are still thinking in channels. They ask, should we do SEO? Should we run Google ads? Should we be on social media? Should we be in legal directories or buy leads? Should we make videos? Those are all valid questions, but they're not the first question. The better question, I would say, is what kind of client are we trying to attract? And what path does that client realistically take before they hire us? Because the path is not the same for every practice area. Someone looking for a criminal defense attorney is in a completely different state of mind than someone planning their estate. Someone dealing with a family law issue may take weeks or months to decide who they trust. Someone facing an immigration emergency may need answers immediately. Someone injured in an accident may be overwhelmed, scared, and talking to multiple firms in the same hour. So when a law firm uses the same lead generation strategy for every practice area, it usually creates a weak system. The channel has to match the urgency, the emotional state, the decision timeline, and the value of the case. For urgent practice areas, speed matters like crazy. If someone submits a form because they need help right now and your office waits an hour or two to respond, you may have technically generated a lead, but you probably lost the case. And that's one of the biggest disconnects in law firm marketing. The marketing team celebrates the conversion, the intake team sees another task, but the prospect sees silence. And while your firm is figuring out who should call them back, another firm is already on the phone. That's why lead response is not an admin issue, it's a revenue issue. If you're spending money to make the phone ring, but your response process is slow, inconsistent, or hard to track, you're basically paying to create opportunities that leak out of the bucket. Then, when you don't get enough cases, the solution becomes, let's spend more money. But in many cases, more ad spend just means a bigger bucket with the same holes. So before a law firm asks, how do we get more leads? I usually push back and say, we got to ask a few harder questions first. How fast do we respond to new inquiries? Do we respond differently based on practice area or urgency? What happens if the lead comes in after hours? Or what happens if the person doesn't answer the first call? Are we texting, emailing, calling, or are we just calling once and moving on? Do we know which leads came from which channel? Do we know which channel produced signed cases, not just form fills? Do we know which keywords, campaigns, landing pages, or referral sources actually turned into revenue? And maybe the most uncomfortable question is, how many leads did we lose last month simply because we didn't follow up well? That's the part most firms don't measure. They measure leads, they sometimes measure consultations, they measure signed cases, but they don't always measure the transitions between those stages. Lead to contact, contact to consultation, consultation to signed client to revenue. And when you don't measure the transitions, you don't know where the system is failing. You just know you're disappointed with the end result. Now, traffic still matters. You do need visibility. You do need people finding the firm, but the way people find law firms has become more fragmented than it used to be. Years ago, a firm could focus heavily on traditional SEO, rank for a handful of important keywords, and build a decent flow of leads from Google. And to be clear, that still matters. I'm not in the, SEO is dead camp at all. Not even close. SEO is absolutely not dead. But search has completely changed. People are searching in Google. They're looking at Google Maps. They're reading reviews. They're checking legal directories. They're watching short videos. They're asking AI tools questions. They're comparing multiple firms before they ever contact a single one. A potential client may search for, divorce lawyer near me, read a few blog posts, check Google reviews, look at attorney bios, ask a friend, watch a video, and then come back 3 weeks later through a branded search. That's not a simple journey. That's not one click and one conversion. That's a decision process over a course of time. So if your law firm is only thinking about lead generation as, rank number one, and then wait, you're missing the bigger picture. The goal is not just to appear once. The goal is to become the firm that keeps showing up with credibility wherever the prospect happens to be looking. That means your website matters, your Google business profile matters, your reviews matter, your attorney bios matter, FAQs, videos, your local presence in Google Local Pack matters, your content, blog posts, site pages, all of that matters. Your follow-ups matter, and your intake experience matters. All of it contributes to whether someone trusts you enough to take the next step. And this is where content becomes more important, not less important, because content can't just be generic legal content. A lot of law firm blogs sound like they were written for search engines from 10 years ago. You've seen the topics, what to do after a car accident, 5 things to know about divorce, do I need an immigration attorney? There's nothing wrong with the topics, but if the article is shallow, generic, or interchangeable with every other law firm's article, it's not doing much for you. Strong content should help the prospect feel understood. It should answer the real question behind the search, not just, what is the law, but what does this mean for me? What happens next? What mistakes should I avoid? How do I know if I have a real case? Or how long might it take? What should I have ready before I contact a lawyer? What should I be careful about before talking to the other party, the insurance company, my employer, the government? There's so many questions people have, and you can take care of a lot of this in content without, by the way, giving legal advice. That kind of content does more than generic traffic. It builds trust before the consultation. And when someone already trusts you before they talk to you, your intake team's not starting from zero. That's a major advantage. Paid ads are another piece of this. Paid search is still one of the fastest ways for the law firms to get in front of people with immediate intent. If someone searches criminal defense lawyer near me, or immigration attorney consultation, or personal injury lawyer after a car accident, there's clear intent there, and paid ads are going to do really well. But paid ads can also get expensive fast. And the problem is that many firms judge paid ads at the wrong level. They look at cost per click, then they look at cost per lead, but the real number is cost per signed case. A $300 lead may be a bargain if it turns into a high-value case at a strong rate. A $40 lead may be a complete waste if it never turns into a qualified consultation. Cheap leads are not automatically good leads. Expensive leads are not automatically bad leads or good leads. The only way to know is to track the full path. And this is where law firms often struggle. The ad platform might show conversions. The website might show form fills. The CRM might show leads. The intake team might have notes. The case management system might show signed clients. But if those systems don't talk to each other, the firm can't see the full story. So the marketing conversation stays stuck at the surface. It's like, we got leads, but were they good leads? I don't know. Did they become consultations? Some did. Which campaigns produced signed cases? We're not sure. That's not a strategy. That's guessing with a budget. Law firms need better visibility than that. Not because reporting is fun, it usually isn't, but because reporting tells you where to invest and where to stop wasting money. If one campaign produces a lot of leads but very few signed cases, you need to know that. If another campaign produces fewer leads but better clients, you need to know that too. If SEO leads close at a higher rate than pay-per-click leads, that should influence budget. If Google Map calls are turning into consultations, that should influence your local SEO efforts. If after-hours leads are being lost, that should influence automation and staffing. If one practice area has a longer nurture cycle, that should influence your email follow-up and content strategy. The data should shape the system, not vanity metrics, not screenshots of rankings, not your campaign had 10,000 impressions. The real question is, where did the signed cases come from? What did they cost? And how do we get more of the right ones? Now let's talk about referrals, because even with all the technology available today, referrals are still incredibly powerful for law firms. And that makes sense. Legal services are high trust. People don't want to randomly pick a lawyer if they can avoid it. They ask friends, they ask family, they ask other attorneys, they ask professionals they already trust. The mistake firms make is treating referrals like luck. They think, well, we get referrals when people send them, but referrals can be systematized without making them feel fake or transactional. You can stay in touch with past clients, you can build relationships with adjacent professionals, you can educate referral partners on who you help and what a good referral looks like. You can make it easy for people to send someone your way. You can follow up and thank referral sources, and you can create content that referral partners can pass along. That doesn't mean you turn relationships into some kind of robotic funnel. It means you stop leaving one of your best lead sources entirely to chance. The firms that win long-term usually have a mix. They have organic visibility, they have paid visibility where it makes sense, they have strong referral relationships, they have content that builds authority, they have reviews and social proof, and very importantly, they have an intake and follow-up system that catches the opportunities those channels create. And that's the key. The marketing channels are not the system, they feed the system. And if the system is weak, every channel underperforms. So imagine two different firms. Firm A is spending $15,000 a month on marketing. They get a decent number of leads, but intake is inconsistent. Some calls get answered, some go to voicemail. Form fills get emailed to someone at the front desk. Follow-up depends on, who's working that day. Nobody has a clear dashboard showing source, stage, response time, consultation status, and signed cases. At the end of the month, they say, marketing feels expensive. Now imagine firm B. Same market, same budget, maybe even similar ads, but every new lead is instantly acknowledged. The intake team gets notified. The lead is tagged by source and practice area. There's a first hour follow-up sequence. There's after hours coverage or automation. Missed calls trigger a text. No-shows get reminders and scheduling prompts. Consultations are tracked. Signed cases are tied back to source. That firm knows which campaigns, which keywords, pages, and referral sources are producing actual revenue. Firm B may not need more leads than Firm A. Firm B just loses fewer of them. And that's the game. A lot of growth comes from reducing waste, and that's the part law firms should find encouraging. You don't always need to double your budget to grow. Sometimes you need to fix the handoff. Sometimes you need to fix speed to lead. Sometimes you need better tracking, or you need a better landing page, or you need stronger consultation follow-up. Sometimes you need to stop paying for leads that don't match the cases you actually want. And sometimes you need to build content for the questions your best prospects are already asking. Or you need to make your reviews more visible, or you need your intake team, marketing team looking at the same data. That's not flashy, but it works. Now, I also want to touch on lead vendors for a minute, because law firms are constantly being sold leads, exclusive leads, shared leads, directory leads, pay-per-lead programs, referral-style programs. And some of them can work, but the firm has to understand the economics. Shared leads may look cheaper, but you may be competing against several firms at the exact same time. That means speed becomes even more critical. If you're buying shared leads and your team responds slowly, you're probably just funding someone else's client acquisition. Exclusive leads may cost more, but if they convert at a higher rate, they may be cheaper on a cost per case basis. Now again, the sticker price of the lead is not the number that matters. The signed case is the number that matters. And with legal generation, there's also the ethics and compliance side. Law firms have to be careful about what vendors say, how they position the firm, whether it sounds like a recommendation, whether disclosures are required, and whether the arrangement creates issues under the state bar rules. You can outsource marketing tasks, you can't outsource responsibility. If a vendor is speaking on your behalf, generating leads for your firm, running ads, building landing pages, using chat, using AI, or communicating with prospects, the firm still needs oversight. That's becoming more important as automation and AI become more common, because the more tools you add, the more important it is to know what they're saying, what they're collecting, and how they're routing people. That doesn't mean avoid technology, it means manage it. Use it intentionally. I'd start with an audit of the current lead journey, not a marketing audit only, a lead journey audit. Pick the last 30 to 90 days and look at the full path. Where did leads come from? How many were calls? How many were forms? How many were chats? How many were referrals? How many came in after hours? How fast did the firm respond? How many were contacted successfully, and how many booked consultations? How many showed up? How many were retained? What was the average case value, and what was the source of the best clients? And maybe the most important question, where did leads disappear? Because that tells you what to fix first. If traffic is low, you may need SEO, ads, content, or local visibility. If traffic is fine but leads are low, you may need better landing pages, stronger calls to action, better messaging, or stronger trust signals. If leads are coming in but consultations are low, you may need intake improvements. If consultations are happening but retainers are low, you may need better qualification, better consult structure, better follow-up, or there might be a mismatch between the marketing promise and the actual service. If signed cases are happening but tracking is poor, you need attribution and reporting. The point is, every stage has a different fix. And that's why, we need more leads is often too vague. More leads into a broken system just creates more frustration. Better leads into a better system creates growth. So here's the takeaway. Law firm lead generation is not about chasing every shiny channel. It's not about SEO versus PPC. It's not about whether social media works or doesn't work. It's not about whether legal directories are good or bad, or whether AI is changing search, although it definitely is. The bigger issue is whether your firm has a connected path from visibility to signed case. Can people find you? Do they trust what they find? Can they take action easily? Do you respond quickly? Do you follow up consistently? Do you track the source? Do you know what converts? Do you know what to improve? That is the system. And the firms that build that system are going to have a major advantage, because while other firms are arguing about rankings, impressions, clicks, and cost per lead, the firms with a real system are asking better questions. How many qualified opportunities did we create? How many did we contact quickly? How many became consultations? How many became signed clients? And which channels produce the best cases? Where are we leaking revenue, and how do we fix the next bottleneck? That's a much better way to grow, because the goal is not just more leads. The goal is more of the right clients moving through a process your firm can actually manage, measure, and improve. And when you get that right, marketing stops feeling like a monthly expense. It starts becoming a predictable growth engine. That's the difference between buying leads and building a law firm marketing system. And in my opinion, that's where the firms that win over the next few years are going to separate themselves from everyone else.